I think next we talk about some other quarterbacks that are currently in the league, guys that are going to be free agents and or are eligible for extensions. We're going to see the quarterback market shift a lot in this next coming months and potentially year. Um, some of those guys, Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, who are free agents, and then in terms of extensions, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. Um, Kind of walk me through, Matt, what you're thinking for those guys in terms of money. Obviously, I think the big domino here is the Lamar Jackson deal because he's going to want a lot of guaranteed money. So kind of walk me through what you think the quarterback market's going to look like and how those deals kind of play out in your head.
I think guys are going to be looking to get like 50 million a year
Hmm.
for 5 years, so $250 million contracts probably is typical. What you're going to see, especially for guys like Lamar, Burrow, Daniel Jones, potentially is going to make like I think he's going to make like mid 30s. I know that there was like a report like, oh, he's going to get 45. I don't think
I would
that's.
not pay him $45 million.
I mean, I don't think he's even going to want like he's not going to ask for $45 million.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But a lot of these contracts like aren't really looking too hot, so you kind of wonder like, think about this. You can sign a guy if you could draft a guy in the late rounds. Like if you can hit on a late round quarterback, obviously that's not easy
Hard.
to do.
Right.
But you can just get like a competent player. A lot of times it's gonna be like $2 million. And you right now, like for older quarterbacks in the league, Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford last year made like roughly $50 million a piece.
Sucks.
I mean, Stafford didn't really play because he was hurt, but that is an issue once you get older, once you get hit a million times playing for the piss poor Lions. Like
Yeah.
it's just interesting to see. So I don't think like these younger guys. I think it's good for the younger guys. I'm really intrigued to see like what like Derek Carr gets because like depending on what Derek Carr gets, you can kind of look at it and go that's a good deal, or you can look at it and go oh that's not a good deal.
Yeah.
Like for the like if he goes to the Jets, say he signs for $45 million, or he signs for like 30 million, or like takes a pay cut and signs like 30 or 25, you're feeling way different about it because you can stack that roster up a lot better.
Hmm.
So I think we're going to see a lot of guys in terms of like the higher deals get 40 to $50 million from here on out, which also makes Mahomes deal like the dumbest deal ever.
Mahomes deal is the best contract in the NFL,
Yeah.
100%. It's the best
So
contract. I said at the time too. I was like, when the salary cap rises and 50 million is like he's gonna be like a top 15 paid quarterback. That's just unreal. That's just unreal. Um, so talking about Derek Carr and Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson, I think is very interesting because Lamar has made it clear that he wants guaranteed money, right? So you saw last year with Deshaun Watson, which I think that's just a terrible deal with the $230 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson. Lamar, I'm seeing conflicting reports and talking to McConnell. He probably knows more about this than I do, but I'm hearing something in the ballpark of like 150 to 200 guaranteed. So do you think that the Lamar Jackson deal, when it's signed with whatever team he signs it with, will affect the way that guarantees work for quarterbacks, where we want everything fully guaranteed? Or
I mean, maybe a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit different for him just because he's at more of a risk because he's a runner.
yeah,
Um, but I feel like already like we're seeing that it's almost typically fully guaranteed for quarterbacks, like
yeah,
almost every time, right? Like
yeah,
so, I feel like that's already changed, and I think that's what should be expected. Like 70+% should be guaranteed, maybe more for Lamar. And I think that's what he's going to ultimately get.
yeah, yeah. So I think, like we were just saying, the standard right now for top paid quarterbacks is like $50 million a year. That's like if you're a top 3, 4 guy and you're getting paid $50 million a year. Do you think that when Joe Burrow signs his extension, he could reach into the 55-60 range? Because the Bengals, they desperately need Joe Burrow. I mean, he is the savior of their franchise. Do you think he could? I mean, I'm not saying he wants to break the market, but do you think if he wanted to, he could break the market and say, give me 55-60 a year? And the Bengals have no leverage to say no. They just kind of have to do what he wants.
Yeah, 100%. But the thing is, if he does that, then all of a sudden, okay, we were going to talk about Higgins later, but Higgins is gone. Boyd's gone. You have Jamar. You're
Yeah.
trying to get a new rookie running back. Like you're trying to draft
I
wide
mean,
receiver. You're not
not even
going
talking
with
about the
Boyd.
offense. Jesse Bates is going to leave because the Bengals probably
Yeah,
don't have any money. So
yeah.
their defense becomes worse. So,
You're
so
probably going to lose Hendrickson a little bit into his deal too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, Tyler Boyd, who knows what's going on with his contract? So, it does become much more difficult. But talking about the three guys, the extension guys, Hurts, Herbert, and Burrow, are you comfortable giving those guys $50 million a year for 4 or 5 years? or what do you think? Are you gonna wait a year on Jalen? Are you gonna what are you doing if you're these respective GMs?
I mean, if you're Burrow, it's easy. You pay Burrow whatever he wants.
Yeah.
For Hurts, no. Like
Okay.
I I liked Jalen. I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but I've
Yep.
been hearing like Jalen Hurts has all of a sudden become the most overrated player in the NFL, like really fast. Like from being like one of the most underrated guys, especially at quarterback, to all of a sudden like he's the second best quarterback in the league. That's just
Okay.
ridiculous. Um, so I mean, look at Jalen Hurts' game. Look what's around him. Best offensive line, best run game. His wide receivers are insanely complementary of each other. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. You have Dallas Goedert, one of the better tight ends in the NFL,
Hmm.
and he's in a scheme that's literally designed perfectly for him. He can do a lot of RPO type stuff, even though they don't. I mean, you don't really see like true RPOs as much, but so much stuff is designed like that where it's perfect for Jalen Hurts. Not to knock him, but he's not a top 3 quarterback in the league. Like that's just not the case. He's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. Is he
Okay.
really good? And was he an amazing draft pick? Yes, he was an absolute steal. And if you remember, do you remember when he was taken? What the thought was? It was like, what are the Eagles doing? They
Yeah.
drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. I was like, dude, that's a steal. One that's value on a quarterback because he probably should have been like a late first. And you look at some of the other guys that get drafted in the late first, like his film was better than a lot of guys. I mean,
Lamar
dude,
was a 32nd overall pick. I mean,
yeah,
you
but
know.
Lamar was also. I think Lamar's the same situation where it's like he should have been drafted higher, and then
Yeah. No, yeah.
you see some late first, and it's like, dude, what the hell? Jordan Love
Yep.
hasn't stepped on the field. He was a late first, and I like Jordan Love. I mean, Paxton Lynch was a first rounder like a few years ago. Like, dude, there's some awful quarterbacks that are taken in the back end of the first where you're looking at him as like, yeah, he was a value. And then look what's happened to Carson Wentz. He's fallen off a cliff. So I was so confused when there was like people were upset about that pick. I was like, that is one of the that could be one of the best picks in the draft. Sure enough, it is. But let's stop with I don't know. You pay Jalen Hurts $50 million, it's not going to look good in 4 years. That's my thought. It's going to look like
Okay.
bad, like because he's limited, dude. Like he's a really good runner. He is an amazing runner. He is really just smart. He's an astonishing leader. He checks almost every box, but he doesn't really push the ball downfield. And if you don't have the weapons like Devon, like that he has, and that run game that's that good, you can't rely on consistently moving the football. People are going to stack the box, and it's going to just make it a little bit more difficult. Not that he's not going to be effective or anything; he's still going to be good, but I don't think we're going to see like this MVP caliber season in 3 years if he's making $50 million. And maybe people are going to hate that, but like hate that I say that, but like we see this all the time with quarterbacks is when they have their stacked unit and then they don't have their stacked unit and you see them fall off a cliff after that. I don't think he's going to necessarily fall off a cliff, but I don't think he's going to be as effective. Where like, for instance, Burrow, if you keep Burrow and Chase, I feel pretty confident Burrow is going to continue to be effective.
Okay.
Justin Herbert, I feel like Justin Herbert, like I like him, but I do have some concerns with him. Like
He's
he
been
falls
overrated.
apart. He
Yeah.
falls apart in the second half a lot, and I do know that a lot of that is Joe Lombardi. I do know a lot of that's Brandon Staley deciding to go for every single fourth down
Oh yeah.
possible. But I think you have to pay him because like you see the talent there. But it's more on the Chargers to be like, you guys need to get him better stuff around him to improve him because he
Here's the
still
other thing
needs to
too.
be improved in the second half. Like his
Here's
game can still be
yeah.
refined.
Oh yeah. Here's the other thing too. You want to talk about the coaching? I agree with. The Chargers receivers can't separate. Right? They like Mike Williams is not a separator. Keenan Allen is not the route runner. The he doesn't have the speed he once did. I think the best thing they can do is get a guy like Zay Flowers, get a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I
One of these
I love
receivers.
Jalen Hyatt. I love Jalen Hyatt there because he's
I
fast.
actually I talked about this in my last mock draft yesterday. I said that at 21 the Chargers probably won't take Jalen Hyatt, but let Jalen Hyatt run 4.3 at the 40-yard on the 40-yard dash. He's going to be in contention for that number 21 overall pick. So, very interesting
He might run
talking
four
about
twos. He might
what
run 4.2s. He might run 4.2s.
if he's 4.2,
He,
he's definitely a first round pick.
and the
100%.
thing is, he's not just straight line speed. He's fast. Like he's a good route
Yeah.
runner. I don't know. I don't know how well he's gonna be able to get off press and if he can play anything outside of slot. But for what, like you said, they don't separate. It's true.
No.
They do not separate. So I think that like you could see him get 50 mil. I think that's probably what you're gonna see, something around that for Herbert. But I don't know. Like that's the thing is like I don't know if that's ever gonna truly work
Yeah.
for the Chargers.